Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Hari Om, sir.
Okay. Welcome back. Let's start. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll start as always with any questions. Are there any questions?
One question I had.
Yes, Sachin.
You said that follow the teachings, not the teacher.
Yes.
Sometimes you can't understand the teaching, so you go by the goodwill of the speaker. Somebody tells you or you heard of him, and you say, "All right, let's listen to him," and then you start believing him. So how does one deal with that?
So there's a beautiful definition of faith, of belief. You just use the word belief. There's a beautiful definition of the word faith, which I think it's Rabindranath Tagore, or maybe not. Swami used to display this as one of his quotes. He says, "Faith is a belief in something I do not know until I come to know it." Right? So, no doubt, the reliance on a teacher is certainly part of the process. Someone whom you can surrender to, someone on whom you can perhaps rely on to share with you their lived experience and the deepest of knowledge in a unadulterated manner, in an unbiased manner. No doubt about it. It's part of the process. But at no point should it become a fixed reliance. Like, see, somewhere down the line we develop this blind faith and a unwillingness to question, and unwillingness to use our own faculties, right? So this journey no doubt begins with a certain level of faith, a certain level of surrender, a certain level of relying, because our faculties are not perhaps sharp enough or developed enough to or we just don't are not accustomed to it. But over a period of time, what we have to rely on is our own faculties. So that's what we mean by follow the teachings, not the teacher.
Very good, sir. Yeah.
Right. What you're saying, you started your question by saying that sometimes you may. What was the phrase you used? What is
you have no experience or no knowledge, and so you depend on the person's goodwill
So
of person's.
over time you develop that knowledge and you develop that
Yeah.
experience, right?
Mm.
That's the idea, right? And a, a true guru will focus on inculcating that in you rather than feeding you perhaps do's and don'ts. This knowledge is not about do's and don'ts.
Mm.
It's about a critical, um, a capacity to inquire, a
Mm.
capacity to consider, a capacity to think and ponder. Because ultimately, what this intangible thing called truth that we are seeking is, it's not about words and concepts, right? It's beyond them. So do you have this subtle capacity to consider, you know
So not to have blind faith is a very important precaution.
absolutely.
True.
um,
I think you should have Shraddha also,
your
because
mind, sorry,
sorry, and
your mind your mind surrenders, and your mind must surrender, but your buddhi must continue to inquire. It almost seems paradoxical, but that's what it is. The definition of surrender is the intellect fails to comprehend and the mind develops a sense of awe, a sense of surrender. That's the first step. That's when you become receptive. That's when you're willing to take in. But both forces are important. That spirit of surrender is important, and so too the continuous questioning and clarification. Because ultimately, you have to build your own faculty,
Mm.
right?
Very true. Very true.
So
You must develop the capacity to inquire and ask and seek clarifications.
the role of a guru is not to develop a long retinue of chelas. huh?
Mm.
A guru doesn't want too many shishyas. In fact, they say that you should be wary of becoming a guru.
Mm.
If you want to become a guru, it's a problem. huh? A true guru is one who doesn't want to be a guru, who doesn't want followers, who doesn't want to be the teacher. You know, it's almost paradoxical, because the role of a guru is to set the student free, to make the student independent, even of the guru. That's the role of a guru.
The true guru even sometimes says that don't become my follower. Don't depend on me. मेरा आधार नहीं लो.
Correct. Correct.
Very true.
So, um, both are important. Surrender is important, and it has its place. So too is a constant inquiry and developing your faculty, your capacity.
Mhm.
See, people think that belief is an all-encompassing thing. No, it's not. You can currently, even right now, you are in a state where your intellect has a certain capacity, so you do not, perhaps are not able to comprehend all of it. There's a part of it which is okay. You're taking to be um, okay. It's come down a certain tradition, so perhaps there is, you know, truth to it which I'm not able to comprehend. So you're doing that right now, but that doesn't mean that I'm asking you to see. Generally, what happens when it becomes a matter of faith, it is exploited, and then faith is exploited, and you are made to commit certain acts. You are made to commit certain, do certain things. So it's a very slippery slope. Some used to say blind faith, I mean, complete devotion is madness. Huh? Complete devotion is madness. The problem is
Very
not
good
devotion.
word. Yeah.
The problem is with foregoing your capacity to think, right? Because the moment you give, see, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's true for anyone, anywhere. You give any person absolute power, right? I'm not saying they will become corrupt, but
Mhm.
it's
They
just
may.
giving them capacity to corrupt. And and it's happened time and again and again. So this is a single file path. Single file path means you're walking it alone, not your partner, not your children, not your guru. Single file path, not a community. It's not a community exercise. Sure, community is important in perhaps keeping us engaged and keeping us informed and collectively maintaining a sense of stability. But it's a single file path. Yes, Omji, you were saying something.
Yeah, I'm saying that you see the famous saying of Gautam Buddha. If you remember the story, don't carry the boat on your head.
Hmm.
You know the story. The story is that the boat was used to cross the river.
Hmm.
So the people were so obliged to the boat, which carried them from one place from one end to the other end. And then they were so much obliged, they were carrying the boat on their head all the time. So the same thing is applied here also. Guru is important, no doubt. श्रद्धावान लभते ज्ञानम, श्रद्धा से ही ज्ञान आता है, लेकिन इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि भाई हम we surrender, as you say also, okay, even Buddha also said the same thing. If you see me, kill me. Don't don't become my. That is why he was against his own worship also. So this is very important because जात ना पूछो साधु की, ले लीजिए ज्ञान, ज्ञान ले लो बस खत्म,
Yes.
finish, that's all. Utsav ji, I want to ask you a question, which is very actually evident also. We have just concluded Olympics, and
Anji.
the motto of Olympics was three important things:
Hmm.
speed, fire, and strength. Now, how do we apply it in the spirituality? I think in spirituality also we are in the path of learning. We have speed means time. In the time frame we have to learn everything. Then higher means it is my own interpretation. I want your interpretation. Higher means we have to be on a higher platform. Now we have to go to higher. Our knowledge has to sublimate. Then stronger. We should not come to small things and all that, small deformities which we have, calm, krodh, low, moh, and all. So this is my interpretation. But since you are more enlightened, I would like to know your explanation, because it's very important. You see, if you see, it is a very important thing to remember: higher, stronger, and speedier. This is the motto of the Olympics.
Yeah. So, please don't embarrass me by constantly saying that I am more enlightened or less enlightened. Um, the the Olympics or any such games, and I've been an avid follower of them because most of us don't play or do anything. We just follow. We just watch it. Unlike you, who's still swimming at 97. But sport is an area which is very similar to spirituality. That spirit you have to have in playing a sport is it requires a certain level. And interesting thing about sport is that it has to be treated like a sport, right? um, I think I mean, it's been told by n number of people numerous times, but I think there was a video of Narendra Modi meeting all the Olympians last Olympics. And the wrestler who this time missed out on a gold medal, Vinesh Fogart, was distraught because even that time she had lost. And of course, when athletes they put so much blood and sweat into their efforts, it's very devastating that you miss out on an opportunity to perhaps seize the day and get glory. But Narendra Modi ji had said that you know win and loss are a part of it. So that spirit of sport is very similar to the spiritual journey, where it requires you to give your all, at the same time maintain objectivity, because at the end of the day it's a game, and one game you lose, the other game you'll win. Idea is to keep moving forward and keep moving higher. So I think that's where I get the idea of higher, right? Higher is not necessarily about a victory or a loss. It's about, okay, are you learning something and are you growing day by day? Similarly, on the spiritual journey, some days you will have a great day. Your mind will, your intellect will be strong enough to, guide your mind. Some days you may not. Some days you may lose your temper. Some days you may do something you wish you didn't do. You'll feel a sense of guilt. But are you constantly learning from it? Are you having that spirit of, of growth? That's the endeavor to be higher. Speed is, I think, as far as the spiritual journey is concerned, more than speed is consistency that matters, right? But yes, where we can think of speed is the sense of हमारे पास बहुत time है. That idea. We have to kill that idea that we have a lot of time, because not everyone will be lucky enough to be 97, right? And get the chance. Time is limited. So you know, what you want to inculcate in your life, what you want to uh, act upon and improve, start today, start now. Have that sense of speed and consistency. And all of this to build a certain strength. Olympics and sport talk about an outer strength, but also along with an outer strength comes a great deal of inner strength in sport as well. And same with the spiritual journey. There's an inner strength that develops, a capacity to live, endure, manage, flourish, be a pillar of strength not only for yourself but for others, right? So these are all elements of the spiritual journey, which are very similar to sport. When we talk about um, what is the essence of the spiritual path, so it's often said you should take to the spiritual journey like a prince takes to sport. In fact, in this book itself, the Vedanta treatise, you must have read that line. As a prince takes to sport. Why a prince? Because for a prince, that glory is not necessarily important, right? They develop a sense of objectivity about the glory. That win or loss is not necessarily important, because at the end of the day, they're the prince. But the game is beautiful. Playing the game and improving in it is wonderful, and that's what life is. Life is a wonderful game. It's a game where just as in sport the skill is to develop a particular capacity, here it's the capacity of purifying the mind and strengthening the intellect. That's the game of life, right? So are you consistently improving in this? Are you developing that inner strength? I think these are the similarities I draw from sport in general, not just Olympics, and the spiritual journey.
And play is also very enjoyable. Lord Krishna said in the entire Gita that play was very important. It's play only, khel only.
Indeed. Indeed. The best of things and the worst of things. It's a Leela. Anji.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, Preeti ji had a question.
Yes, sir. So you were giving the example of the velocity, and there you said that the initial vasanas, they once you are a realized person, the initial vasanas express the remaining ones. So then what happens to the punya and papa? Because if you are a realized person, don't you exhaust your punya and pap? So it is like that only. Like then you don't accumulate any punya and pap.
Okay. I'll answer that question. First, Prachi had a question. Is that related to anything else? Because once I answer Preeti's question, we'll start with the class itself.
Yes. No, it was more related to what Preeti ji is asking, but
Okay, go
not
ahead.
related exactly. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, ask your question.
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, so I was actually wondering this even when we were studying the meditation bit, and then now again, now that we've just studied this example of the pulley, that I just find it a little difficult to comprehend how after going through the entire process of renunciation, detachment, all of that, and then coming on to meditation, when you finally realize the self, how do you um, go back to living any previous life that you had? Even if I understand the concept of your prarabdha vasana, and you just living the rest of your vasanas out, but it's just difficult for me to comprehend how a person who's gone through those stages can just uh, go back to living any sort of previous life.
See, of course, it's not equivalent to, but it's quite similar to any kind of growth. You go back to your phase of childhood after 20 years, right? You have a sense of connection with it and also are disconnected from it, right? You have a nostalgia, you have an appreciation, you have a gratitude, but also you have a different life altogether, which is not uh, dependent on it, right? So, one second, not
Is there
collaborative.
some screen?
I wanted to share a whiteboard, but okay, all eyes on. What is all eyes on? I don't want to share it. I'm trying to share a screen, but people are so don't
There's a
touch.
whiteboard here.
Hey, don't touch the whiteboard. Nobody touch the white. I'm just preparing to address Preetiji's question. But yeah, so uh, see, in a sense, we've said that okay, it's not possible to wake up and go back into the dream, right? That's not. We don't have a. So perhaps the reason we find it difficult to comprehend is because we don't have a relatable experience to it. But what we have a relatable experience to wake up, so we are tuned to okay, fine. This could be what it's like, but we don't have a relatable experience to waking up and then going back.
Yeah.
But it's not altogether different from some strands of similarity exist when having grown, having gained a lot of experience, you go back to an erstwhile environment, an erstwhile place. You are at the same time connected yet disconnected, right? Part of you is connected to it, but a part of you is checked out. A part of you realizes that it's ephemeral. It you know it had its place in time, but it's sort of meaningless, right? It was a great show. When you were in that experience, it meant so much, but now you've moved on. You realize it was at that point it meant everything. At that point, it meant that whatever happens right now will determine the rest of my life. And looking back, you laugh at it. That oh, so many things happened, so many ups and downs. The ups didn't matter that much. Oh, I thought by getting the best grades or by getting the best recommendations, something magical will happen to my life. Nothing happened. Oh, I thought by doing badly in that class or that terrible experience, life will be destroyed. Nothing happened. You know. So you taste a sense of, you get that sense of objectivity that it was just another experience, right? So that's the spirit with which a realized person lives in the world. They realize the relative meaninglessness of it. Just as you realize that a childhood is childish, you know,
Yeah.
it's cute, but it's also childish.
Yeah, like how marks were so important when we were studying, but then when you grow out of college or something, you realize like it was okay, even if you didn't get
Child
a 90.
toys were important.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm looking at my nephew, the fellow. He's developing what is called stranger danger. Stranger danger means only mama is nice. Everyone else is a stranger. For him, only mama is important. I told him, listen, you continue like this, we'll make fun of you. Same thing you think is important right now, we'll make fun of you later. You're mama's boy. So once you grow out of it, okay, I'm just going to stop sharing the screen. So that's the spirit with which a realized person lives in this world. Um, they understand the ephemeral nature of it. They understand the illusory nature of it. Of course, so it's one level higher. It's a different level of realization. But a relative realization is growth, which you and I experience. You know, we don't experience it on a daily basis, but over a period of time, then we look back, we see how far we see how little those erstwhile things were, right? So that's one sense of, I mean, how we can relate to what it could be to be enlightened. An unbearable lightness.
And is it a one-time thing, or you gradually move into this phase of, like, how they show this aha moment or something where you are in the process of meditation or
Yeah.
nobody knows?
Yeah. So no, it's not a one-time thing, because um, every aha moment, every change, every sudden change is actually a gradual process. The process may be invisible, or may not be that evident, but it's happening. It's happening right now, moving towards enlightenment with this discussion, incrementally,
Hmm.
but it's happening, right? When you even advance further, see, as I said, it begins with suspicion, it develops into a conviction, it grows into a real, sorry, conviction, understanding, sorry, suspicion and understanding, a conviction, and then a realization. That state of conviction, when you have a conviction of this journey, it itself is a 50% enlightenment, you know. I mean, the way you look at the world will be totally transformed. Yes, parts of the puzzle will be missing. It's like doing a puzzle, na?
Yeah.
Initially, when you're starting the puzzle, you're like, you have a flip, that all the pieces are there. Huh? I bought this, it's a very expensive puzzle, and all the pieces must be there. You have to work very hard to find one piece. And then suddenly, when maybe 100 pieces are put together, there are a lot of missing pieces, but you're like, oh, I can see something is coming together. That's an understanding. You put more, you develop a conviction. Oh, it's a matter of time. Even though the puzzle is incomplete, but you can project what the final image will look like, right? So you've traversed 50% of the journey, and the remaining 50% part of it, your buddhi can project it. Okay, this is what it will be, right? Sure, the final pieces are still missing. Then ultimately, in enlightenment, you unravel the entire piece. So I don't know. Despite what Omji thinks, I'm not that enlightened. So a lot of the pieces of the puzzle are missing. I don't know whether there's a dramatic change or an altogether. Of course, um, an experience is an experience. You can't beat it, right? So no matter how much knowledge and conviction you develop, the final experience will elevate you in a way which is definitely different. But you grow on this journey, right? And suspicion itself is a very important step. Hmm. That, oh, perhaps what these people are talking about, all these Vedantins, there's some sense to it. I don't know. That's suspicion. Maybe there is more to this solid seeming world than I assume. But suspicion itself is a very important step. Okay, coming to Preeti's question. I want to use the old whiteboard. Why can't I use the old whiteboard? Allow participants to share whiteboard. No. Who can facilitate in the meeting? Only hosts and board members. Okay. New whiteboard. So Preeti's question was, um, one second. How do I stop the sharing this? Okay. So don't touch the whiteboard. Don't touch your screens. Meenakshi ji. Sorry. Now your name is coming in front of me, so I can tell who's doing what. Don't touch the screens. Yeah. So,
Sorry.
especially if you're on your phone, you're probably toggling and then it gets touched. So don't worry about it. I'm not going to. But okay. Preeti's question was, where's an eraser? I need to find an eraser. There's no eraser in this thing. Oh God. Delete. Delete. So Preeti's question was that what happens to all the punya and the papa that a person collects over the ways. Now punya and papa are just a different word for vasanas. Punya is good vasana, pap is not so good vasana. Um, Going back to the example of the pulley or the car which we talked about, right? What is self-realization? That moment of self-realization, jivan mukti as we say it, realization while living. It's a state of exhaustion of all vasanas. It's an elimination of all vasanas. But then if all vasanas are eliminated, then how is a person living? Because to be an individual means you have vasanas. To be living means you have vasanas. So what does that exactly mean? So here's where we'll talk about it. It's theoretical, but it'll lend some understanding. Now, your entire individuality is like imagine this circle, this entire pool of stuff, vasanas. That's your total vasanas. That's total individual. Total individual is this sort of container of vasanas, elliptical container of vasanas. From this circle, from this entire set, a small subset, I'm going to call it P. I'm going to call it P because there's a reason. This small subset of vasanas emerges. And when a small subset of vasanas emerge, that's birth of an individual. So Preeti was born when this small subset of the individual's total vasanas gained an expression. I'm calling it P not because Preeti is asking the question. I'm calling it P because it's called prarabdha. It's called prarabdha. So from your total vasanas called sanchita, total vasanas minus this prarabdha is called sanchita. So I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it a sanchita. Hmm? From the total vasanas, the prarabdha finds expression. The sanchita is there in the background. Hmm? Your life is this prarabdha. Your entire world, your entire experience, your entire individuality, which you know, which you're aware of, which is manifesting, is this prarabdha. There's a lot of you which is still hidden. There's a lot of you which is unmanifest, which is not known or not brought to the surface yet, which is beyond Preeti. That's your sanchita, right? It may in a conducive environment manifest or may not. But so long as your prarabdha exists, you are living, you are alive. And only when the prarabdha is exhausted, the point of ending of prarabdha is called death. Which is why, I mean, it's quite inexplicable sometimes. You can't really comprehend how death occurs to whom, when. People die of this strangest of experiences. People are able to endure great injuries and great difficulties and still continue to live. It's incomprehensible. Yeah. People will fall from 10-story building and still be living. People will trip over a brick and hurt their head and die. Right? This idea of when will death happen, how will death happen, nobody knows. Right? If this becomes small. Okay. So idea of when will death happen, how will death happen, nobody knows. But philosophically speaking, death happens when prarabdha ends. So long as there is prarabdha, there is going to be, you're going to be alive and you're going to be expressing and exhausting your prarabdha, right? So all through life, through the actions you perform, through the thought process you maintain, through the uh, manner in which, the intention with which you conduct yourself and conduct your life, you are accumulating more vasanas. Hmm? That's called punya and papa. You're accumulating punya and papa through your own actions. And that's going into this entire pool. That's going into this entire pool. Some of it might manifest within this lifetime. Some of your punya you might actually carry ahead with you and it may only surface later. Right? A lot of good work done by someone may not actually bear fruit in this lifetime itself, or may not actually show its full effects in this lifetime itself. They carry it forward with themselves. A lot of times you may see people, a common question, say he's such a evil person, but he enjoys such pleasures in this world. Life is so kind to him. Why? It's punya from the past. This is an explanation for it, right? Now don't ask me how much punya, in weight in grams. I don't know, right? There's no way to mathematically give you a, but this concept is simply for a purpose of understanding. So this punya or papa, it's in your total pool of vasanas which you carry ahead through lifetimes, right? Now what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is a state of course, the culmination of your spiritual journey. And what is the spiritual journey? It's a disassociation with the individuality. It's a disassociation with the ego. It's a disassociation with this mass, right? So long as you're able to work on the spiritual path, you're actually eating away on this sanchita. Okay. So what happens when you attain enlightenment? This entire sanchita is eliminated. This entire outer circle. You're burning vasanas. You're burning vasanas in the altar of knowledge. It's a complete objectivity. You gain that complete disassociation with the individuality. Right? You merge with that sense of universal consciousness. So there's no individual punya, there's no individual papa. You're burning it away. You don't want anything to do with it. You're done with all the punya. See, it's like after earning millions and millions of dollars, what is a couple of dollars to you? I don't want it. You're looking for something more. Similarly, a person on the spiritual path is realizing there's no end to this game of punya and papa. And how much punya will I accumulate? How much time will I go through all of this cycle of ups and downs? I'm done with it. That spirit of being done with it. That's what prompts you, right? You're not looking at the spiritual path as a source of benefit necessarily, or a pleasant experience. You're looking for the truth, right? What is the mystery behind it all? So when you're on this journey, gradually you're exhausting this sanchita, you're gradually exhausting this punya and papa. Enlightenment is a point where all of the sanchita is gone. What remains only is the prarabdha. Prarabdha cannot be touched by any amount of knowledge. It's simply the cause of your current incarnation, the cause of your current existence, and it has to be lived out. It has to be lived out. So when you gain Jivan Mukti, enlightenment, it's called Samadhi. When a person who has attained Samadhi, finally their body is passes, when they come to the culmination of their life, when their body dies, essentially, we call it Mahasamadhi. Mahasamadhi, why? Because the sanchita is gone, the prarabdha is also finished, there's no more coming back. See, had the sanchita remained like a normal individual, what happens? This entire pool of sanchita, one pocket of prarabdha finishes, another one pops out. That's reincarnation, that's rebirth. Right? And what you're carrying with you through lifetime is not, see, we often say we don't carry any wealth, we don't carry anybody. What we carry only is our knowledge. Actually, I'll correct that statement. What you carry is your vasanas with you. Right? So what impressions, what vasanas are you cultivating? Right? So ultimately, the journey is about eliminating vasanas, and you eliminate vasanas first by purifying vasanas. So yes, punya is a very important part of the process, but what kind of vasanas are you cultivating? Are you cultivating pure vasanas? Are you moving up? Are you growing as an individual? Ultimately, are you eliminating vasanas? Are you shedding vasanas? Are you becoming lighter in that sense, right? Are you disassociating with the ego? Because so long as you keep that strong association with your individuality, you'll be in this constant cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. This play of sanchita will continue. Right? So enlightenment is a point where the sanchita is gone. Prarabdha remains, and you simply live out your life. You live out the prarabdha with complete objectivity, with no egocentric desires. So there's no further punya added. There's no further pap committed. Very interesting. There's a shlok in there's a verse in the, I think Kaivalya Upanishad, where he says, Yashatarudriyam adhite sogni puto bhavati surapanat puto bhavati brahma hatyat puto bhavati krityat puto bhavati atyashrami mashrito bhavati. So he says, one who has read the Shatarudriya is a spiritual text. It can be interpreted as one who has attained enlightenment. One who has attained enlightenment is free from all karmas, is free from all punya and papa. He can eat and drink, nothing will happen. He can all acts of commission or omission, no impact. He can kill a Brahmin, Brahma Hatyat. He can kill a Brahmin. Means that devastating act of even an extreme act of even killing has no impact on him. Means they are free from the cycle of karma. They're free from the cycle of, there's no more, there's no vessel of sanchita in which you're going to pour this into. It's complete objectivity, right? So enlightenment in one sense is no further accumulation of punya and papa. And that happens because you're completely disassociating with your individuality. Yes, you become selfless. Cool. Okay. I thought, so I do have a hard stop in exactly 5 minutes. I'm just debating whether whether I should start. Okay, continue. Discuss this idea of the pulley, right? As that point of enlightenment. Even at the point of enlightenment, even though the weights are equalized in the pulley, there is a velocity which is forcing the pulley to continue to move in the direction of the velocity. When the car stops, even though the engine is gone, there's no acceleration, but there's a velocity. Acceleration can be related to adding of punya and papa, adding of vasanas. There's no more addition or deletion of vasanas, but there's still a velocity which continues to be manifest until the friction stops it, until at death, that's the end. So there's no force acting on you, but there is a velocity, there is that resultant vastness, this prarabdha, which you will have to exhaust. So that's precisely how he concludes this section. I'll just read it because I'm not going to start the recording. We just read these 2 paragraphs and that's where we'll conclude. He says, so apply this law, apply this concept which we have discussed in the pulley to a self-realized person. An individual is born in the world with a portion of the aggregate of his vasanas. The aggregate is what we talked about, the sanchita. So a portion of the aggregate is what we call prarabdha. An individual is born with a prarabdha, a portion of the total aggregate of the vasanas. The aggregate vasanas are known as sanchita, the portion of sanchita which needs immediate manifestation, which causes your birth, which forces itself out to be born as a human being, is called prarabdha. So the bulk of these vasanas, an individual you're born with, is called prarabdha. It's the original acquired vasanas which gets exhausted only upon death. But the individual can, within his lifetime, exhaust the entire sanchita, and that's the attainment of self-realization. Thereafter, there is no individual propulsion of his life's activities. There's no personal interest. There is no individuality prompting the action. There is no accumulation of punya and papa. Realization equalizes the disparity of demand and supply. The individual makes his demand, the world makes the supplies to meet the demand. The imbalance created by the inequality between demand and supply lasts until self-realization. The unfulfilled desires cause the motion of life. When the sanchita, the aggregate of all unmanifest desires, is exhausted, there is no more motion generated. He lives on because of his original acquired prarabdha vasanas. Like a car moving 100 kilometers an hour runs out of fuel, it has no more acceleration, so the fuel is exhausted. But its motion continues because of the already acquired velocity. That's the other example we gave. So too, the self-realized person functions differently because of the different prarabdha vasanas that they are born with. If the original prarabdha was feeble, little, then the manifestation would be the same, like a Ramana Maharishi. If the prarabdha was for music, then there would be like Tyagaraja. If it was made up of erudition and scholarship, they would emerge as Swami Ramatirtha. So they become a concentrated expression of what they were, essentially. You become a concentrated expression of what you were. Swami Ramatirtha was a teacher before he got into the spiritual journey. He continued that. What else will he continue? That's all he knows. So, the unequal pulleys are because of the disparity between demand and supply. The reason you are living, the reason you are moving about, the reason you are accumulating these vasanas is because there's constantly a demand from your end, and you move from one experience to another based on this demand. Right now you're here because you have a demand for this, you have a desire for this. If you didn't have a desire for this, you wouldn't be here. Tomorrow you'll go somewhere, you'll go for a holiday, you'll do something, you start a business. Why? Because you have a demand for it, for whatever. You might think it'll get you happiness, wealth, etc., etc. We're not getting into that. So this demand and the subsequent supply of it is what causes the motion and acceleration of life. Self-realization is the state of no demand, no supply, no further acceleration or deceleration in either direction, but the already acquired velocity keeps you going. There's no motive that a Tyagaraja has behind singing. There's no motive that a Ramatirtha has behind teaching. Oh, I wish my students become better Vedantins. No. Whoever has to take it will take it. The great words of Swami Ramatirtha: truth crushed to the ground will rise up from the ashes like the phoenix. I don't have to worry about, oh, will I be a messenger of the truth? Will my words impact the world? Will my words impact the world? Will I be able to change the world? No. They didn't have such delusions. They simply did what their prarabdha was and disappeared silently. No much ho halla, no shosha. Okay, we'll conclude here. So that was the concept of the extrinsic conduct, right? It differs, and it differs based on your prarabdha, your vasanas. The next section is discussing the impact of the world on him. What impact does the world have on such an individual? And then, if you can guess, the next section after that will be his impact on the world, or her impact on the world, right? Those will be the two concluding sections of this chapter, which we will take up on Monday. So thank you so much for joining. I have a hard stop, so I have to be on my way. But we'll see you again. Have a good week. Have a good weekend, and see you on Monday.
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Hari Om. Thank you.